Caught my girlfriend cheating, then she tried to blame me for everything. She twisted the whole story, making me look like the bad guy. Should I just ghost her and move on? Hey Reddit. A few months ago, I 21M started dating this girl 22F, who, for the sake of the story, I'll call Emma. When I first met Emma, I thought she was everything I was looking for. She was funny, ambitious, kind, and genuinely seemed like someone who had her life together. We hit it off immediately and started spending a lot of time together. I remember thinking how lucky I was to have found someone who understood me so well. We shared similar goals, interests, and values, or so I thought. She was the kind of girl who would say things like how much she loved being with me, that she wanted us to build something meaningful, and all the things you want to hear when you're falling for someone. But over the past few weeks, I started noticing some strange behavior. Emma became unusually secretive with her phone, flipping the screen face down every time I walked by or acting jumpy when her phone buzzed around me. I remember one night, specifically, we were hanging out watching a movie, and her phone buzzed several times in a row. She quickly silenced it, and when I glanced over, she looked almost guilty, like she'd been caught doing something. I tried to ignore it at first, thinking maybe it was just my own insecurities kicking in. I told myself that everyone deserves privacy and that I didn't want to be one of those paranoid, possessive boyfriends who's constantly checking up on their partner. But the feeling kept nagging at me. Then came the night that changed everything. Emma was over at my place, and we'd had a pretty good night, just relaxing, cooking together, and having a few drinks. She ended up falling asleep on the couch, and I went to grab a blanket to cover her. As I walked back into the room, her phone buzzed again, and this time, curiosity got the best of me. I glanced at the screen, and what I saw made my stomach drop. There were multiple notifications from a guy I didn't know, with messages saying things like "had a great time and can't wait to see you again." I felt like my heart stopped. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, and I didn't know what to do. I just sat there, staring at her phone, trying to process what was happening. This girl I'd trusted and shared so much with was possibly seeing someone else behind my back. The next morning, I decided I had to confront her. I waited until we'd had breakfast, and then I calmly asked her if there was anything she needed to tell me. She immediately got defensive, asking what I meant and why I was suddenly acting weird. I told her about the messages I'd seen, trying my best to stay calm and give her a chance to explain. I expected her to deny it or maybe even admit to something, but instead, she did something I didn't see coming. She turned everything around on me. Emma accused me of invading her privacy, calling me paranoid, insecure, and controlling. She said the fact that I was snooping on her phone showed a lack of trust on my part, and she acted completely shocked that I would even think she was doing something wrong. Somehow, she made it seem like I was the one with issues, that my insecurities were destroying our relationship. She kept saying things like, "If you really loved me, you wouldn't doubt me and you're just looking for reasons to ruin this relationship." By the end of the conversation, I almost felt like apologizing. It was surreal. She'd managed to twist everything around and make me question myself. It felt like I was the one who'd done something wrong, even though I knew deep down that my suspicions weren't just paranoia. After she left, I sat alone in my apartment, trying to make sense of everything. I replayed the whole conversation in my head, wondering if I really was the one overreacting. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, but Emma had me so turned around that I didn't know what to believe anymore. My friends have always told me that I tend to give people too many chances, that I'm too forgiving, and that I don't stand up for myself enough in relationships. But I didn't want to lose what we had without being sure. So, here I am, wondering if I should just ghost her, cut my losses, and move on, or if I should keep trying to get the truth. I don't know if I'll ever get closure from her, and I'm not sure if I can keep going in circles, questioning myself. Update. After sitting with it for a few days, I decided not to ghost her, at least, not yet. I felt like I needed some kind of closure before I could move on. So, I reached out to her and asked if we could meet up and talk things through. Surprisingly, she agreed, and we ended up going to a coffee shop near her place. At first, things were civil. I explained that I wasn't trying to accuse her, but that I needed some honesty. I told her that I just wanted the truth so I could make peace with everything and move forward, whether that meant staying together or going our separate ways. She looked at me, and for a moment, I thought she was going to admit to what she'd done. But instead, she went back to blaming me, calling me insecure and saying that I was reading too much into things. She even claimed that the guy texting her was just an old friend from high school who'd come back into town and that I was blowing things out of proportion. She couldn't give me any good explanation as to why she'd hidden the texts or why she'd been so secretive with her phone. She just kept talking in circles, accusing me of being controlling and not trusting her enough. I finally told her that I felt like I couldn't trust her anymore, and she got defensive again, saying I was the one who didn't know how to handle a mature relationship. She made it sound like I was the problem, that I was looking for excuses to end things. After talking to my friends, they told me she was gaslighting me, trying to make me question myself and feel guilty. They all said I should cut my losses and move on, but there was still a part of me holding on to the idea that maybe she was telling the truth, that maybe I was overreacting. It felt like I was caught in this endless loop of doubt, and I didn't know how to break free from it. Final update. So, here's the final update, and I think I finally have my answer. After our last conversation, I decided to step back, take some time to clear my head, and figure out what I wanted to do. I didn't text her, didn't check her social media, and just tried to focus on myself for a bit. Then, out of nowhere, I started getting messages from a random guy on Instagram. I didn't recognize him, but when I opened the message, he asked if I was dating Emma. Turns out, he was Emma's other boyfriend, or at least, that's what he thought. He told me they'd been seeing each other for months and shared screenshots of their conversations, plans they'd made, and pictures of them together. My heart sank as I read through everything. She wasn't just seeing someone else, she'd been living a whole double life, lying to both of us the entire time. I asked him how he'd found out about me, and he said he'd started noticing she was acting strange, always hiding her phone and making excuses. He did some digging and found out she was following me on social media. He reached out to me because he wanted answers and felt like something wasn't right. Seeing all the proof he had was the last straw for me. I felt angry, hurt, and honestly humiliated that I'd let her manipulate me for so long. All the time she'd twisted things around, making me feel like I was in the wrong. It all made sense now. I realized how much I'd ignored my instincts, how I'd let myself get pulled into her game of making me doubt myself. After that, I blocked her on everything. I didn't bother with a final conversation because, honestly, what's the point? She made her choices, and now I'm making mine. My friends are relieved that I'm finally letting go, and looking back, I can't believe I spent so much time questioning myself over someone who wasn't worth it. This experience taught me a hard lesson about trust, boundaries, and the importance of not letting someone make me doubt my own worth. It hurts, but I'm ready to move forward and take this as a lesson learned.